Welcome back to my channel, and I know I said I'll talk about Legend of Korra, but since I have like a part 2 of Avatar Last Airbender I want to do, I'm going to do that. And then next week, or maybe after they put Legend of Korra on Netflix so I can rewatch it, well, I could always rewatch it now, I could always watch it on CBS, but I don't know, my next videos I'll do will be Legend of Korra. I don't know if there's gonna be one or two. This one, there's like a lot for me to talk about because I love it. I do love Legend of Korra 2, just I love Avatar more. But when I make the first video, I'll know if there's gonna be a second video depending on how much I have to say at that moment. Right now, we're gonna do more Avatar because there was so much more I wanted to say after a half hour. And I was like, man, I could really talk about this forever, couldn't I? But I have limited of what I'm going to talk about this time, and maybe someday I'll talk about more Avatar stuff if I come up. I know one day I'm probably gonna end up making a whole Zutara video, and I'm probably also gonna make a whole Korrasami video because I love them. They're my two favorite ships in the Avatar universe. My other two favorite ships are Sokka and Suki, which I'm gonna get into in this video, and Bolin and Opal. So right now we're gonna talk about Sokka's humor. Sokka is something else. At first, when you first see him in Katara, you think you're not gonna like him because he did seem kind of sexist. And at first, he did kind of seem like he was gonna be the kind of, what is it called, comic relief. But he turned out to be so much more, and I loved him. And his character growth was amazing. Not as amazing as Zuko's, obviously. You know, it's the iconic redemption arc, but this isn't really a redemption arc, you know, because Zuko's was actually a redemption arc. But Sokka's is just a character growth. So Zuko's redemption arc aside, Sokka did have an amazing character growth. You know, Toph and Aang pretty much stayed the exact same person they were from when they entered the show to when they exited the show. Katara did grow a little bit, you know, in a good way. She went through struggles and stuff, and you did see her character grow. She became more confident, more powerful, stronger, fiercer, kinder, which you didn't think was possible at the beginning because you saw her strength and her kindness at the beginning, but it became so much more. It became her identity, you know. But with Sokka, he really, really grew, you know. Suki's another person who pretty much stayed the same from when she came on to when she left. But she was more of a recurring character until the episode where Sokka rescues her. Then she was a main character until the end of the show. And she should have stayed. She should have been their main character earlier. I liked her. I liked her with Sokka. They should have used her more. And I'm really upset that the writers apparently in between, for those who didn't know, in between Avatar and Legend of Korra, Suki died, and she died pretty young. She was one of Sokka's guards, I think, like a personal guard or whatever, and she died in battle. And that's why Sokka never had kids until he died, because he was already dead on Legend of Korra, like Aang. And it doesn't really say who died first, Sokka or Aang. And it doesn't really say how Sokka died. I think Aang was supposed to die of natural causes. But actually, I heard that there was like a theory that him being in that iceberg for so long actually made him, because avatars can actually live longer. That's why Kyoshi lived for was the longest living avatar. She lived for over 200 years. Aang, on the other hand, died when he was 60 something, and that's because he was in the iceberg for 100 years. And I think, and it actually makes kind of sense. You know, it kind of deteriorated him and made him die a lot sooner than he was meant to. I love Sokka. He's one of my favorite characters. Whenever someone asks me my favorite character on Avatar, I immediately go to Katara, but Sokka is next, and then Toph, and then Zuko, and then Suki, and then, no, Iroh, and then Suki. Yeah, well, Iroh and Suki actually is probably tied, to be honest. I love them both. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. I'm sorry, I love Aang, I love him, I love what he stands for, I love his morality, but he's just not one of my favorite characters. I don't know why. It's nothing against him because he is a great character and I do love him. And I do like him more than Korra, even though I do love Korra and she doesn't deserve the hate she gets. Neither does Legend of Korra. But all that that aside, let's get to the point. Sokka is hilarious, even though there's so much more to who he is than just the comic relief, you know? He's strong, he's the leader of the group, even though this is Aang's group and he is the Avatar. Aang's not a leader, and he's not a natural born leader. He's not, you know? But Sokka is. Maybe it's because that's how he was raised. He was always raised to be a good soldier for his tribe, to always protect his little sister. And I think that has a part of it, but I also think a part of it is because that is who he is. That's why it comes so naturally. I know he had a little difficulties at some points, like when he was trying to rally the team, all the people. I think that was for when they were going to invade the Fire Nation, right before, what was it, like the eclipse, I think it was, yeah. They were going to, and his father ended up taking over because Sokka kind of was rambling on and got kind of nervous. And he is a natural born leader, and his only issue is that it was his first time, and any leader will be like that for his first big mission like that, you know. But Sokka has proven himself more than a couple times, you know. He learned his lesson with Suki when they first met and was willing to do whatever Suki said, including wearing the Kyoshi warrior outfit and with the makeup and everything to prove himself and learn among them, you know. And I love the episode Sokka's Master where because I love that they gave Sokka a whole episode. And I love how it showed how Katara, Toph, and Aang were all miserable without him, because he did lighten the mood. He did make them laugh when they needed it most, and he was always there. He always had the schedule. He always knew what they were going to do when they were going to do it to make sure that they did what they needed to do, that they got to the Fire Nation and stopped it. And I guess it was just a relief, you know. I mean, Katara does care about her brother as much as she jokes with him. He jokes with her. They fight. They argue. And this one thing I love about it, because a lot of sibling relationships, they either always fight or they never fight, you know. Like, at least in cartoons, sibling relationships, cartoons. I might be wrong. I haven't seen every cartoon, but a lot of the cartoons I have seen, it seems like siblings are either never get along or they always get along, which isn't realistic, you know? I mean, there are some siblings that always get along and some siblings that never get along. But what's more realistic is siblings that are half and half, you know? Katara and Sokka, they get along at times, but they also fight at times. They don't always agree, and they have their own ways of doing things, their own methods, their own, you know? And that's one thing I love about Katara and Sokka's relationship. You know, it's one of my favorite sibling relationships, and I absolutely love it. You know, like the episode, what was it? The Great Divide, I think it was. The one with the two. I think that was the episode. I might be wrong, but it was the two people that groups that hated each other, that Aang and Team Avatar had to kind of mediate between to get them both through the passage, you know? And Katara was helping one team while Sokka was helping the other. They both heard that side without hearing the other side, so they immediately agreed with that side, and then they fought with each other, say that this side was right, when in reality neither side was really right. And yeah, so they kind of fought there, you know, and they tease each other playfully, you know. So it's not just like fights, you know. They argue, they playfully tease each other. They are worried about each other, like when Sokka got kidnapped by the spirit and sent to the spirit world. Katara was a mess, worried about him when Katara really cared for Jet and found out that he was lying about everything, and Sokka was always suspicious of him, and she wouldn't listen to him, you know, first crush kind of thing. And when he mentioned that Sokka should have stayed out of it, and he kind of implied that he did something to him, Katara's face, like, it completely changed, and it breaks my heart every time to watch. I mean, it's such an underrated scene, but and he tried to go towards her, and she pushes him away with her water bending, and she was like, "Where's Sokka?" And it's just so sweet. Like when Aang was first learning fire bending, and he kind of went overboard and accidentally burned Katara's hands. Um, and she ran off. Sokka got all worried about her sister, and even though Aang is his friend, his first concern is his baby sister. He was kind of supposed to. He kind of raised her after their mother died and father went off to war. He kind of raised her, along with their grandmother, but she can only do so much, and he cares so much about her, and even if Aang was his friend, in that moment he only cared about his sister. So he kind of pushed Aang down and was like, "You burned my sister," and got all angry. And when Katara showed back up with her hands healed, he asked if she was okay, and she was like, "Yeah, but we need to do this, okay? The Fire Nation's coming. They're coming for Zhang Zhang." That was his name, right? Zhang Zhang. That was the Firebender, right? I think it was. But yeah, but I love their sibling relationship. Now back to Sokka's humor, because he does say stupid things, but I have a video on here called Sokka's a Misunderstood Genius. It's one of my theories. I've been doing these theories where I theorize things about a show or a movie. I have 2 of Avatar, I have Buffy, I don't know how many I have so far, but I have one with with Zula's. I think I have one with like Zula's insanity, like what happened to her at the end, what made her go there, and then I have Sokka's a Misunderstood Genius, because he at first he's kind of looks like he's going to be a comic relief, which I mentioned, and he says stupid things, has so many blonde moments, but then when you watch him closely as first season goes on, you realize that he's so much more. He is a leader, and he is the leader of Team Avatar, and he is a genius. He's extremely intelligent. And I love him so much. And honestly, he doesn't. I don't know. He doesn't get any hate, but I don't think he gets the love he deserves. I don't hear people when I hear people talking about Avatar characters. They're always talking about Zuko's redemption arc, Katara. As much as I love Katara, I absolutely love her, but they do talk about her a lot. Not that I care, because I talk about her a lot too. Toph, who I also love. I mean, I love all 3 characters, and Iroh, and they all get, and them and probably Aang get the most attention, and I think Sokka and Suki deserve more attention. The other characters I love, and I don't want their attention to devolve, like go down, but I want the Sokka and Suki to get more attention as well, and I just, and Sokka and Suki's romance is so amazing. They don't exactly hit it off the right foot. Sokka didn't think Suki could be a warrior, being a girl, and then later on he explains why. He was like, and then when he learns how amazing she really is, and he wants to learn from her and the Kyoshi warriors, and then at the end, when they're ready to fight the Fire Nation who invaded the village, Zuko and Iroh mostly, because Zuko found out that's where they were. He was like, "I should have treated you like I was." What did he say? I thought of you as a girl, but what did he say? He was like, "I treated you like a girl when I should have treated you like a warrior." And Suki kisses his cheek and said, "I am a girl, but I'm a warrior too," which is such an amazing line. It's such an amazing feminist moment, and it's such an amazing line, one of Suki's best. And they kind of just forgot about it, It doesn't get talked about, but it's so amazing, and Suki's amazing. But yeah, so I love the relationship. Suki, I don't remember. They see her a couple times while she's a Kyoshi warrior, but then she never stopped being a Kyoshi warrior. But then later on, you do see her without her makeup for the first time, her Kyoshi warrior makeup, and and then Sokka didn't even recognize her, and so she was kind of playing it off, like pretending, like it's like, you don't remember me, pretending to be this big bad person. And then she kisses him, and he smiles. He's like, Suki. It's like what kiss that he knew who it was, and I think that's so sweet because Sokka did fall in love with this woman. He liked her when they first met, but his first love was Yue. But then when he sees her again, his feelings for her grow, and they keep growing. And I just think that scene is so underappreciated as well. A lot of Sokka and Suki moments are. Except for maybe Sokka's master. That's one episode I do hear about a lot. And a lot of people do love that Sokka did get his own real episode just for him. But anyways, I just think that moment was so sweet because Sokka did fall for this woman. He fell in love with Suki, and he never even seen her without her makeup, what she actually looked like. You know, and he didn't care. You know, it's just he cared about who Suki was on the inside, and I love that. And I love Sokka, and I love Suki, and I love their relationship. You know, and it grows. You know, I mean, Katara and Aang's relationship felt kind of forced, which I'll get more into that on my Zutara thing, and because on my Zutara video I'll talk about why I'm not a Katang shipper, but I just love Sokka and Suki, and Sokka grew so much as a person and a warrior, and he's so smart, and he's a natural born leader, and he's so funny, and he does give the group laughs when they need it. You know, when they're feeling down, he comes up with a plan to give them hope. Well, okay, no, Katara gives them hope speeches. Yeah, the way I see it is Katara's the heart of the group and Sokka's the soul. That's how I see it. But anyways, moving on, because this video became so much about Sokka, which I'm okay with. So I talked about Sokka's humor, his genius, his Sokka and Suki. Toph's humor. Toph, from when she came on in season 2 to when to the very end, she didn't really change. She was the same person, you know. She was blunt, she was headstrong, she was confident, I love the blind. I don't want to say jokes because they're not jokes. It's not like they're making fun of blindness, you know. It's just, I think I got to this a little bit on my last video, but I'm gonna get to it a little bit now too. Toph even kind of says little things about her blindness, like when they were looking for the library in the desert. I think it was the library in the desert, yeah. And Toph was like, look, there it is. And everyone looked, and then they looked at Toph because she's blind, and they just looked at her like, really? And then Toph did this, saying that she can't see it. And but before she did that, she's like, that's what one of you, what it'll sound like when one of you do spot it. And then she did this, because it's Toph. And yeah, I did mention some of this because I remember last time I mentioned how Toph with the sheet of paper, you know, on the same episode, Sokka did it, and she was like, I'm guessing it's a sheet of paper because of how it sounds. And when later on when Katara did it, she was like, are you kidding me? I'm blind. It's because, and I love it because even Toph does it, you know, and it's not like anyone does it on purpose. Like when Sokka was drawing a picture of it was kind of a running gag how Sokka was a terrible artist, but when he was trying to draw a picture of Appa for the missing posters, and Katara and Aang was kind of making fun of it, and then Toph is like, it looks just like him to me, and Sokka's like, thank you, I worked really hard. And then he paused, he was like, why do you feel the need to do that? Because it's hilarious. And one of Toph's last lines was similar to that one at the very end of the show, right before the Katara and Aang unholy kiss. Sokka was trying to draw a picture of everyone in the room at the time after they had finally defeated Fire Nation. Zuko was Fire Lord. Aang was the savior. Everyone was happy. Sokka was trying to draw the moment to draw everyone to capture the moment, and everyone was like, why am I like that? Why do I look like that? Because it was kind of terrible. And then Toph was like, I think you all, how did she say? She's like, I think you all look great. And then everyone just starts laughing because they got it like right away at that point, because they've known her for a while at that point. But it was just hilarious because everyone just started laughing, and then Aang and Katara walk off, and it's just so cringy. I'll get more into that later. I do like their friendship, don't get me wrong. I don't like them as a couple. And Iroh is very wise, and I love that. And he has great advice to anyone. I like when he first met Toph, right after she joined the gang. And he gave her some good advice. And he constantly gives Zuko great advice, you know. And he was trying to help Zuko make the right decision, but in the end he knew it had to be Zuko's choice. And I loved it when Zuko went to apologize to him when they finally see each other again, and then Iroh gives him a hug, and Zuko's like, I thought you'd be so angry at me. And he's like, I was never angry, I was worried that you lost your way. And Zuko was like, I did. And I was like, but you found it. And it was just so sweet, you know. And I think, you know, Iroh was a big part of why he finally realized that he realized everything Iroh said was true, but Zuko had to figure out on his own. Iroh was just there to guide him in the right direction. But I think Katara also had a little thing to do with it, you know, because they did get close. She did trust him, and the that place that they were trapped in at the end of season 2, in the Crossroads of Destiny. That's what the episode called. They did get close, you know, and Katara's even willing to use that potion to heal Zuko until Aang and Iroh saved them. And then, but another reason why there's no doubt that they had feelings for each other is when Katara and Aang were leaving and Iroh and Zuko were staying, so Iroh would have a talk with Zuko. They looked at each other, and sadly, and there's like how can you not think that they're perfect together? And I will get more into that into my Zutaro episode, because I have a lot to talk about still. But Iroh was also the one that convinced Zuko to let Appa go, you know. But when he went to that meeting and was the perfect prince, everything his father ever wanted, he even told May afterwards that he was the perfect prince. His father was proud, but it wasn't him. And that's when he realized that the only way to get his father's love is by being who he's not. And then that means his father's not really loving who he truly is in the end, right? So that's when he ends up leaving to go help Team Avatar and becomes part of Team Avatar, becomes family with them and everything. And I love how they had one episode, each person had one episode to trust Zuko. So, Toph really didn't have a real field trip with him, but it did show her kind of trusting him, because she was the first one that wanted him to join their team. But that's because Aang did need a real firebending teacher, and one kind of just plopped on their doorstep, and everyone's just kind of waving him off, which is kind of what Toph said, just in a different way. But yeah, and you know, and I love how it was Katara that had a little bit more difficulty trusting him, because she was the one that trusted him first when he kind of betrayed them. So I kind of love that it took her a little bit longer. And I love, my Katara's field trip with him and Sokka's field trip with him are my favorites of his little field trips. Anyways, I love Iroh, and I love his tea. I love how he's obsessed with tea, and it's like, and I love when he was like, this is nothing but hot leaf juice, and Zuko's like, that's all tea is. And I was like, I can't believe a member of my own family would say something so horrible. Iroh and T. I don't like T, but I just love Iroh. Zuko's honor. um, the entire time it's like Zuko's all about honor, and I love how Sokka was like, I have to regain my honor when he wanted to go save his father from prison, and Zuko's like, I wouldn't know how that is, like, duh. It's like everything he ever did was for honor. I liked though at the end of season in season 3 when he confronted his father and then left to join Team Avatar. It was like, this entire time I thought it was my honor I wanted to restore, but in the end it was your love. I love how he realized that, because after that he never really talked about his honor again, except for they still made little puns once or twice. In season 3 at all, I don't think they hardly ever talked about it, you know. But I love how he finally realized that it wasn't his honor that he cared about like he thought it was. It was his father's love and his father's, you know what I mean? And it's just sad, but I love how I finally came to terms with that. Sokka's boomerang. I love Sokka and his boomerang. In the very beginning, he always had that boomerang. I love that he later on got a sword, and I love that it's a space sword. And from that comment that came down, and I read something that said, when you realize, what did it say? It said, when you realize that the space sword could have came from UA. And I started thinking, I was like, oh, mind blown. Because it's true, you know? So I just think that's so sweet. I love he got a sword because he didn't need more of a needed more than a boomerang. But I love that even when he got the sword, he didn't get rid of his boomerang, because the boomerang was a part of him, you know. And I love his boomerang, you know. And like when he says little things about his boomerang, like when he got all upset when they had to leave it, he finally found it, and he was like, oh, boomerang, you do always come back. And then when he flung it at that thingy-mabob, he's not a thingy-mabob, he's a person, that combustion man, that's what they called him, and it hit him, and then he came back up, and at first I was like, yeah, boomerang, and then his combustion man came back up, he was like, oh, boomerang. But I just love his boomerang scenes, you know, because he does love his boomerang. But yeah, I also, and apparently it was confirmed in the Legend of Korra, because there was, because in the finale when he lost his sword and boomerang, they were battling airships trying to stop the fleet, him, Toph, and Suki, while they were trying to stop the Fire Nation fleets from blowing up, destroying Ba Sing Se. That's what it's called, Ba Sing Se. While they were doing that, so to stop them, so Katara and Zuko could stop Azula, and Aang could stop Ozai. Their job was as important as Katara and Zuko's and Aang's, because if they didn't, the Ba Sing Se and all the people in it would have been dead. So their part in it was just as important. I'm doing a video. I'm almost done. In pictures of the gang as adults, you see Sokka with his sword and his boomerang. It doesn't focus on it, but if you pay close enough attention, you see it. So it's pretty much the writer's way of confirming that he does get boomerang back and the space sword. And I love how he said, bye space sword, and he's like, boomerang's not coming back. But then when something happened and Toph's like, because he was holding on to Toph who was about to fall, and Toph's like, did boomerang come back? And he's like, no, Suki did, because they thought they lost Suki in the fight. But yeah, it was sweet. But yeah, I love Avatar, I do, and I could probably talk about it forever. I really could. But I guess that's all. Please like and subscribe and comment anything about Avatar, I guess, what I mentioned, you know, your thoughts on Sokka, Suki, Toph, Iroh, Zuko, Katara, any of them. And I'll make a tutorial video eventually, and I'll see you later.